Radiating from the heart of America and stretching from coast to coast and border to border, welcome to On Radio, the wireless industry's weekly download coming straight from the builders and newsmakers of everything wireless. Your host is Jim Tracy, and this is On Radio.
Hey, wireless world, welcome back to On Radio. Today is going to be cool and fun. We have with us today John Paul Jones, or JP. Most of you guys know him as JP. JP and I are the longest serving members of the NATE Legislative and Regulatory Committee, like a really big title, but what it really means is that we get to come to Washington, D.C., and we get to represent the interests of the climbers and the business owners who are part of NATE. And so, hey, most senior member, how you doing, JP?
It's a great day, Jim. How's everything on your end?
It's awesome. We're about to head over to Capitol Hill. We kind of had breakfast this morning at this really swank place where impressive people like Theodore Roosevelt's actual painting on the wall. Wasn't that cool?
Yeah, the Capitol Hill Club, man. That was great.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. But we're kind of the old timers of the group, you and I now, and part of that is a bit like mournful because we're outlasting lots of folks. But I mean, it beats the other option, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I just found out last night at dinner with you that we're only a year apart in age. Although I look a
Yeah.
lot,
You look a lot better. We know. Everybody knows that, man. He's got hair. He's got hair.
You wear it well.
And my wife still has to dress me, so I can't even claim style. But so we first came to DC. How long ago was it, you think, when we first started coming here? More than a decade, ain't it?
Oh yeah, I couldn't pin the exact date down, but I remember
Long ago.
Yeah, it was really before it was really the Legislative and Regulatory Committee. I had just started serving on the board, and as a new board member, you always get a chance to go to DC with the crew, and it was my turn, and so I went, okay, this is going to be crazy. I'd really never spent much time in DC, and we did the first trip, and it was really fun, and then the second time came up, and you guys were like, hey, no, come with you. We had fun. You're going back,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of rolled into what it is now. So it's been really fun.
Yeah. And in our world, it's just like you got to get in here and then get out of here without getting any on you.
It's a crazy place, man. I've never seen a place that moves like this place does.
Yeah. So when we first came here, I remember, I think it was from Don Doty, because he first said, hey, we kind of got to get to DC and impact these people. And I'm like, why? And his famous quote was like, if you don't have a place at the table, you're probably on the menu.
Yeah. That was when I was chairing OSHA Relations Committee, and we had some big stuff brewing with OSHA then. And I remember every time we'd have a meeting, if we had 6, they had 9. Every single time, they outgunned us every time we got here. But really,
they got to bring more people to outlast us.
Yeah, I think we got about 90 showing up this trip, don't we?
Yeah. So we're actually, folks, we're at a fly-in where people are coming from all over the United States, and they're descending upon DC so we can actually talk to the legislators who make rules and regulations and garner these folks. So that, and that's one of the things I want to talk to everybody about. We're not doing this for fun. I mean, this is not the place I would come for fun. But I can tell you that the rules that they make impact our people. And that's why we're here, isn't it, Jim?
It is, Jim. And everything that all the NATE members that, committee chairs and committee members and things, a lot of people get the misconceived idea that, there's pay involved or whatever. It's absolutely not. We do this out of our own pockets. And I can tell you, there's times like this when House is in, Congress is in, that, our hotel rates are over $400 a night. This all comes out of our pockets. We do this because we love the industry. We love the climbers.
Yeah, and it is a line item on the budget for us, but it's not a revenue line item. It costs us money to come here. Yeah. on top of our taxes. But being the old timers, we are really truly trying to impact on a daily basis every time we're out here. It's like early morning until late night, and we're really trying to impact the climbers. And one of the ways that happened on the first go round was with OSHA, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. And once again, speaking to OSHA, some of our best friends and some of our best supporters are at OSHA, and they have
Yeah,
really helped us along the way. Shepherded us through some processes to make a big difference in climber connections and climber safety. And the OSHA strategic partnership is one example of that.
yeah. And when we first got here, though, we didn't really view them as allies because we weren't. I mean, they weren't our allies and we weren't their allies. We just actually had to be the adult in the room and decide we were going to get along.
Yeah, there was some tense moments along the way. Some of the individuals in the earlier days, were definitely not big fans of us. So we had some struggles, but
Yeah,
we definitely got to the right people and doing the
for
right
sure.
thing.
And in all fairness, we really sometimes weren't their biggest fans either because they said they know more about climbing than climbers do. And we're like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
They'd never been over 35 feet and they were telling us what it's like at 100 and a half. So
yeah, yeah,
for sure. So it's more than OSHA though. When we talk about bringing people to the table, all the alphabet comes into play. I remember the first time we met with the folks over at the FCC. You remember that?
yep, yep.
I think I got a picture from the maybe 2000 something of me and you standing in front of the FCC
I remember
building,
that photo.
and I marvel because they're actually in a new building now. But that meeting was just phenomenal. That's how we got to meet Pi and the climate commissioner, our super spider monkey, Brendan
Yep,
Carr.
yep.
Yeah. How's the FCC come to the table for the folks in the climbing end of our business?
The work that Brendan Carr has done on visiting tower sites and hanging out with climbers and actually climbing structures. Up, he's been on 2,000 footers. He's climbed just about every configuration of tower that we have in our inventory. Um, that really ties us in close with what it takes to be a climber. How much those harnesses weigh, how bad you feel on hot days. He's done a lot for that, but we have representation on the Ocean Strategic Partnership as well, and we've got support from the FCC. So the more we
Yeah.
advance the OSP, the more information comes out, and we give information to the FCC that they probably never had.
Yeah. And so they have come really full circle because at first they said, well, what do we have to do with towers? Like, well, our antennas or your antennas are on our towers, so you got a lot to do with them, whether you know it or not. And Pi and Carr and now even the chairperson Jessica Rosenworcel is like getting educated upon what our folks do to empower 5G, say.
Yep, exactly. Don't forget the
Yeah,
FAA too. We spent a lot of time with those guys in the early years. We walked in there before Part 107 was ever uh, released, and we had a problem that we
yeah,
presented to them, and we expected the typical, hey, you got 30 minutes, go. We reached the end of that 30 minutes, and they were like, no, no,
yeah,
we want to talk to you guys some more. We ended up staying there about an
yeah,
hour, I believe, and they told us just, hey, just hold on. We think we've got the problem solved, and sure enough, they did. They rolled out Part
yeah.
107, and so I think Nate's done a fantastic job in the UAS airspace. If we can push
Right. You
airspace T
know,
through, we'll have it, won't we, Jim?
that'd be awesome. One of the things is the climber's probably sitting out there and he's going, "What do I care about that?" Well, let me tell you, when we sit down with these folks, like at the FA, we said, you know what? If you can inspect that with a drone, if you can like pass rules to get us to inspect that structure before the climb, we're going to be able to go up top and we're going to be able to actually see that the cable climb's faulty. before we're climbing up the structure. So, and they were like, "Oh, you can do that," and we're like, "Yeah, we can do that." And the same holds true for OSHA. We're giving information about what we do to people who make policies that affect what we do. So we got to kind of play the long game. We can't really play a reactionary game with these folks,
Yeah,
can we?
correct.
They uh, they look down the pike and they say, "Hey, we're going to do rulemaking." Well, if you do rulemaking at Safety LMS, it takes about 10 minutes, and that policy has been adopted across the across the board. But if they do one, they got to look years down the road. And so it really now with your background. Obviously, with tower turbine technology, you got a huge background in towers. You've been doing this longer than Chip, and you add to that what you bring to the table from Safety LMS. And when you step in with these people, what kind of questions like do you get from the alphabet soup or Congress or whoever? We'll get to Congress in a minute, but
Yeah, yeah. You know, like you said, Jim, there's a there's a conception uh, that a lot of them have that maybe this is easier work than it really is. And they
hmm
don't really know. They see a guy say, "How many times do you drive down the road and look over and see a person up on a tower?" And they go, "Yeah, well, it's pretty common now." But they don't know that that person
yeah,
might be 500 miles away from home and has three little kids at
hmm
home. You know, so all of a sudden you
yeah,
start relating the personal side of what these climbers have to go through to keep those phones working. Then it kind of
yeah.
connects itself, and that's
And you made it real with them. You went out to a tower site here in DC, and you said, I mean, like Uh, Mr. Alphabet Soup, we'll call him. What'd you have him do?
well, we set up the very first one. We had a kind of a dual function event. One was exposing DC folks to the drone technology, and then we actually
hmm
rigged the tower, outfitted them in climbing gear and all the full PPE they need, and then educated them step by step up the tower. Some of them went, I think it was probably 150, 180-foot self supporter, and some of them got 30, 40 feet and said that, nope, that's enough for me.
I'm
And then
I'm
the
good.
other ones pushed on through all the way to the top and got off the ladder and tied off and went hands free and was like, wow, this is really cool. I couldn't believe how much I can see. It was a good
Yeah,
event. And we had male, female
just
from every group. I think we probably had at least a dozen different entities represented there from DC. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I remember watching looks on face when people just throw on a harness for the first time. I mean, bolt bags are empty. There's no tools on it, but they're just throwing on a harness, and you're teaching them how to buckle leg straps, and they're like, and and you have to climb with this on. We're like, you wrote the rule, Jack.
Yeah, Don Doty did the very first. I believe it was Don Doty and Terry Sharp did the very first one in
Yeah.
DC where they actually had loaded harnesses. They put bolts in the pouches and everything, and those guys were like, "Wow, I can't take two steps up this up this ladder without feeling it." So
Yeah,
it gets
for
real.
sure. That's what the quads are
Yeah.
for. Thanks again, JP. We'll talk to you next week. We appreciate you and appreciate you carving some time out for us. As always, every Thursday we say, let's choose safety today. This is Jim, and I am out.
Thanks for tuning in today, and join us every week. Tell your people to listen in and subscribe to On Radio, the voice of everything wireless.